Greetings to Augie's World Around, and thank you for joining me on this beautiful Saturday. This will be our last live stream this decade, and we'll be starting a new decade with 2020, and that we will continue just as we have. I've been reading the comments so far, and we've got 4 different continents so far: the North America, South America, Africa, and Europe. So if somebody checks in from India, or somebody will have 5. And Mark, thank you. Good reminder that Super Chat is open. There's another thing I keep talking about doing it. I haven't done it yet. I've got a temporary assistant. Julian has returned over the holidays to help me. He'll help me on Monday by putting an index in the text for this video that will list the questions and who asked them and at what point they were answered in the video, so you can go directly to them. As usual, there's 14 or 15 minutes of silence at the beginning. That's to give people a chance to tune in, make sure that their systems work, and also to ask questions. And we usually have a, Turkey. Okay, so we are into Asia. And Portugal, hello. Welcome to people from all over the world on this beautiful Saturday/Sunday, wherever you may be. It is just now noon here. My weather station isn't working right at the moment, but I'd say it's about 35 degrees outside. It has been snowing. I did make one trip into town this morning to go to help my wife take some of her artwork to a local gallery for hanging. And then I went up to the trailer store where they sell RVs and ordered some mirrors for the trip to Quartzsite. So things are coming along. I will be in Quartzsite. Australia. Okay, so we've got, we're 6 continents now. That's doing pretty good. We just need somebody from Antarctica, and we'll have them all. This is cool. Welcome to everybody. A bit of news. I had talked in previous episodes of the live stream about refocusing the channel to be more of a reference station. I'm going to build a reference station that is the idea of a reference station is the idea that I'm going to build something and tell everybody about it. And so when you become a tech or when you become a general, you've got something to look at, something that works, okay? And I'll spend a lot of my time talking about the how-tos. We'll talk about the radios, the power supplies, the antennas. I use solar, so we'll talk about that too. Grounding and bonding, running cables, putting up antennas, how to get on the air, how to work single sideband, how to work CW. Hello, Don. Thank you very much. Thank you. And so I'm going to try and focus the channel away from just reviews, because it's been a lot of reviews lately. And one, by the way, that really took off was the review of this. This is the SDR Play RSO1A. It's in the middle of their line. It sells for $180, $190, something like that, depending on whether they're on sale or not. Might be even $200. A nice little radio. I did a video on this, and it's 2 cousins, or I should say it's 2 siblings. And good grief, that video took off. Something like 17,000 views. I thought, okay, we're tapping into something interesting here. So I took the first step on this reference channel. I want to set up my whole station to be equipment that's part of the reference. So I've got an FTDX 3000 Yaesu, which is not an entry-level radio. Then I have, right now in here, a borrowed ICOM 7610. 7610 is definitely not an entry-level radio, but a radio that is entry-level, that I recommend freely to people, and yet it's a very, very capable radio, is the ICOM 7300. So I said, okay, if I'm going to pivot the channel to talk about this kind of reference station and talk people through how to use their technician and their general licenses and so on, I got with ICOM, and I know their marketing guy, and asked him if he could give me a deal on a 7300, and he did. I basically got the dealer price for a 7300. So that is on its way, and that will become the new main radio here. And so what I will have, the idea of a reference station is I've got everything set up that you might need. Now, you may get the same thing I've got, or you may get something different, but we'll know that they all fit within the reference station. So that is what we're going to do. And let's see, Colchester, United Kingdom, Chino Valley, Arizona. Looking forward to getting down there to Arizona where it's a little bit warmer. For those of you in Europe, going from where we are would be like in Germany down to Spain. It's that much of a climate change. And yet it's actually much closer. We're just going over the San Juan Mountains, and we'll be in Arizona. We've got to kind of go through the northern part of Arizona, through the reservation and the Navajo reservation, and then over to Quartzsite for that. New to ham radio, is there any videos that I can watch to really get started in ham radio? Absolutely, yes, there are. Go to my website. My website is KE0OG. That's KE0OG, number 0, letter O, KE0OG.net, .net/training. Okay, KE0OG.net/training. And that will bring up my website, and there's a video there for you to watch that will walk you through everything. And then there is a list of all of the videos having to do with a technician. It will tell you exactly what book to buy, where to get it. In fact, if you order it using the link there, I get a couple dollars back from it. And it would be cheaper than ordering it from the league. And for each lesson in the book, I don't have the book here with me. For each lesson in the book, there's an accompanying video. It just follows right along all the way through. And so, yes, that's something that you can do. How do you connect the 3000 to a PC? Just with a USB cable. That's all it takes, just one. Let's see. Owner of 7300 picked it up yesterday at HRO. Wow. Yes, it is truly an amazing piece of equipment. It is extremely popular right now. It's extremely popular. And all of the big vendors are running perpetual sales on the thing, and you can pick it up for about $1,000, which is actually inexpensive for a full featured HF rig. And the 7300 is very advanced. Thank you, Marcus. Appreciate it greatly. I don't know if my extra class videos help at all. I understand that they do for the full license in some countries. It's different in every country. I was reading a lament from a New Zealand ham the other day saying that the licensing situation is so difficult in New Zealand. Man, you've really, really, really got to prepare. And they only give the tests like 4 times a year. It's like the way the FCC used to be here. Okay, so we're going to make a reference station. That'll be everything from the key, everything will be tested on the air, and we'll talk about it. And there will be some things you won't be interested in, some things you'll be extremely interested in, some things you'll have more questions on, and so on. I guess antennas and grounding are the two big areas where I get lots and lots of questions. Okay, now that said, let's see if we can. Do you need to load any software for the 3000 before connecting the USB cable? No. However, I have a blog entry on my website at dcasler.com, dcasler.com. By the way, if you go to ke0og.net, it goes right into a different page. But if you go to the main dcasler.com and search for 3000, whatever, you should come up with the post where I go through the menu settings for the 3000 to get it to work properly with the radio. And now note that there is a driver. You need to download from the Yaesu site. If you go to the Yaesu site, let's go here. Yaesu.com, I think it is. And you go down to the FTDX. Let's see, we want to get their products, HF transceivers and amplifiers, the 3000 right there. Okay, here's the 3000. See here where it says files right here? Okay, you've got to go down here carefully, but there is a driver, the USB driver right there, okay? That's the virtual COM port driver. You need to install the driver before you connect the radio. It actually creates two virtual COM ports through there, and you will use the one that is the enhanced port. That's the one you'll reference in all the software that, like if you're using WSJTX, that's the one that you'll use there, is the enhanced COM port. Okay, so let's go back to this and start looking at, let me get my live dashboard up here so I can see what I'm saying. The 450. 450 is a very nice little radio. Yeah, okay. Have I tried, this is from Peter Bates, KZ7, Papa Delta Bravo. He says Merry Christmas in 73, and have you tried JS8? I have not, and I intend to try it. The JS8 call, that's JS8CALL software. I have not downloaded that yet. JS8 is a more conversational version of FT8, whereas FT8 is in, out, onto the next one. JS8 allows you to send a bit more conversational. It's not as conversational as, say, PSK31 or RIDI, but you can use that. Okay, this is from John Keeler, KN4JHB, and he says he has an SDR Play RSO1A Receiver, which I have right here. By the way, I tried something with that. There's a thing in, where is it? It's called ADSB. ADSB is a thing aircraft are using now. It's new for aircraft, relatively new, and finally encompasses GPS into FAA air traffic control. Every aircraft, if you want to fly, you got to have one, has to have an ADSB transmitter on it. Think of it like transponder. And if you want to, you can put a transceiver in your aircraft so you can listen to the ADSB uplink, which has weather, all kinds of current information, notice it's to airmen, right at your fingertips. But what's interesting is that the RSP1A, and in fact all of the SDR Play line of receivers, will receive the ADSB signals from aircraft. And I've tried it. I hooked it up. I used just a 2-meter antenna to receive it. And there's some software here, I'll do a video on this, where you can actually, on a map on your screen, see the aircraft that are flying overhead where you are, and your radio is picking them up. Quite interesting. Okay, I want to use this as a waterfall to view the band. Yeah, the receiver is on a beverage antenna. Okay, so that means 160 meters, probably. Or the somewhere around 500 kilohertz. I keep forgetting them. Anyway, the receiver is completely separate from the transceiver in the same shack as my normal HF transceiver that will be used to transmit. The transceiver is using a G5RV antenna, which is fine. I have been warned that even if the antennas are on opposite sides of my property, that I will be greatly overdriving the receiver. The answer is absolutely yes, you will be. Okay. Is there a dynamic filter or attenuator that I can put in line with the receiving antenna that will prevent this and allow me to have a reasonable waterfall even when I am transmitting 100 watts? The answer is yes. What you want to do basically is short out the input to the SDR receiver, the SDR Play receiver. And this little device is the device that will do it for you. Let me put it under the overhead here so we can take a look at it. This is the device here. This is an MFJ 1708 SDR. You should get the B model. This is the A model. Get the B model. Here you attach your antenna, and you attach your radio, and you attach your SDR. And when receiving, you've got a very simple splitter, meaning they're just connected in parallel, between these so that you can hear it on receive. Now there's a little push-to-talk spot up here, and you want to connect this to the back of your transceiver. It's the same thing that you would use to keel linear. It's that circuit. Connect that right there, 12 volts in there. And then for you, you will not use the radio. You'll connect your beverage antenna here and connect your SDR here. Your transceiver will be separate, except it's critical that that line come from the push-to-talk over to here. And then what that will do is disconnect your SDR when you're transmitting. Okay, so that's what you need to do. You will still get some information through, but so it will not be cut off completely, but you'll get a little bit through. Get the B model. It's a little bit better than this one, but that is what this thing does for you, and that is how you can cut that off easily enough. Okay, very good. Happy New Year. Yes, absolutely. Let's get back to here. This is from Diego A. Irizarry Estrella, KP4 DAI, that would be Puerto Rico. Recently got my license and also to general upgrade, new to this, watches the videos. He's going to go for extra in the second half of next year. His question is, what coax would be better to use among HF and VHF UHF? This is thinking of not to buy different coax for each band. and also to use better the tubing space with all the cables. It'd be his cable run, not too big. To buy the box or big roll, the same coax for all these bands, and the rest is easy to cut and crimp or clamp it, as the kit I use. By the way, I just got a different kit directly from Times Microwave, and I think that would be my next video, showing how to use the Times Microwave clip. Oh, looks like we had another fail here. This happened last week too, where the connection seemed to go bad. I think I have a good connection right now. Let's see. I'm looking at some of these questions. Do you think the ASU 450D would be a good first radio? Yes, it would be. It's a nice little radio. It's a little long in the tooth now. You don't have the most modern of everything in it. But everybody I've talked to who has one really enjoys it. Yeah. What type of USB? The USB on the back of the ASU FTDX 3000 is the Type B. It's the same connector that you use to connect your computer to an HP printer. Okay, if you're using the direct connection and not the wireless. It's that cable. It's ubiquitous. You can get it anywhere. Wow. Yeah, some countries looks like it's hard. Yes, well, let's see, and congratulations to Good Game Ham Radio Bees and Outdoors on his growing YouTube channel. Steve, the 450, yes. Do you think it's a good first radio? It definitely is. I'm picking the 7300, and that's what I'm recommending these days because it's very modern. It has very current technology in it and just has a lot of rave reviews. Okay, been running with the 7300. Lompoc, California. Oops. The my end on the chat, it jumps all around. Picked up a used FTDX 1200. A lot of the 3000 features, and there is a firmware upgrade for better scope on it. Let's see, Lompoc, California. The cheap SDR dongle, yeah, with the planes, yes. One of these days I'm going to get my private pilot's license. It's a bucket list item. Coax runs through the basement over the main water line. Would you mount the lightning arrestor to it? I'm really far away from house ground and thought about rig chassis ground to it also. If you're that, there's a question in here kind of about that. But I would recommend that you put in a ground rod as close to your station as you can get it. And ground to that. And then run a number 6 bare copper wire, you can bury it, from that ground to your utility ground, your house ground. Okay, I think you'll have better luck. If you try using the utility ground for your ground and it's way across the rest of the house, you'll pick up a lot of household noise and you won't get as good a ground out of it. Okay, very good. We're up to 122 people watching. That's great. And again, as I mentioned, the Super Chat is live. Okay, so we're back to his question on coax. My favorite coax for a long time is RG8X. It's easy to work with. It's easy to put connectors on. It's extremely flexible. It's good coax for HF, everything HF. Now, when you get into VHF, I've found using it, even though there's a significant amount of attenuation. You still get out, and I still hit all the repeaters that I would normally hit. If you want to run flexible but heavier duty cable, there's RG213. RG213 is flexible, easy to use, easy to put connectors on. LMR 400, the times microwave equivalents are LMR 240 for the RG8X, and LMR 400 is their equivalent of the RG213. Now, the problem with LMR, times microwave, first of all, make sure you get it's times microwave and not a Chinese ripoff, okay? Make sure the cable you get is actually times microwave, not times microwave like or something like that, but actually times microwave. And there are special connectors for it, I've discovered, and I'm going to be showing that in a very near-term video. And you'll, that's a little bit better cable, by a little bit, I mean a little bit better than RG213, but it's a pain to work with. It's very stiff. Now, you can get versions that are more flexible. A little harder to find, but you can find it. Go to The Wireman, and I'm not sure exactly what his internet address in, but he sells everything. Also, Coax USA or usacoax.com. Either way works, by the way. I did some interviews with him on Ask Dave, very popular interviews. My personal preference would be the RG8X. However, I purchased an entire roll, 500 feet, of LMR 400, and I'm not finished with the roll. So that's what I use now for everything, is LMR 400. It's kind of expensive, you know. Now, if you want to go the other way, go down to Home Depot and pick up some RG6. The RG6 is 75 ohm cable. It will work. You'll have to use your antenna tuner a little bit because it's 70 ohm cable. It's not 50 ohm. But it will work. You'll have interesting issues with connectors because the only connector really made for it is the F connector. But it's a whale of a lot less expensive because it's used commonly. Every house has it for their cable connection. Okay, this is from Chris, KC3OOD. Oscar Delta. Thanks, Dave. Your videos are helping me get started. Very greenhorn ham. It's 3 days old and growing. Saw a tutorial about station RF grounding and want to ask, my home has a rather thick copper wire that runs from the fuse box to the opposite side of the house. What are your thoughts about simply attaching your station ground and end-fed antenna coax feed shielding to this house ground wire? No, I really recommend against that. Put in a separate ground rod that's very close to your station. Some people have enough access room in the basement that there's a dirt floor and they can still get an 8-foot ground rod in there and pound it in. And just directly below the station. That's very good. Even if you're on the second floor, I'd run a ground rod right down below your station. Run the antennas, mount lightning arresters right on the ground rod. And then run your station, your antenna coax to that, and then from there to your radio. It will eliminate a lot of noise. And then bond that with your household ground using a number 6 bare copper wire outside of your house going along the edge, and you can bury this, and that should really help. Okay. This one is, Alaskan Care. Thank you. Thank you very much for the super chat. Much appreciated. Polaris, let's see. Yeah, okay. Yes, we did have a very nice holiday. Thank you. We went down to Durango. The kids are grown and gone and don't usually come this way at Christmas time. So we usually go somewhere at Christmas and just celebrate a very low-key Christmas. And this time we went down to Durango, which is just over the mountain to the south of us. Stayed in one of the historic hotels and had a wonderful time, really. Okay. Sweden, hello. I live on the 5th floor of a 7th-floor building. Yeah, you want to make sure that your equipment is properly grounded to the utility ground. If you find that it does not work, you're getting RF into your shack, MFJ makes an artificial ground for exactly that situation. It's just a tuned counterpoise, and it can really make a difference. On a full wave loop, does it matter that I am only able to configure my 40-meter loop as a sort of a kite configuration in the vertical plane? No, that should work. Well, if you easily work 40 meters or Europe on 40 meters, and the antenna is quiet, you've got a good antenna. Now, if this were a company, I'd say don't mess with success. But hams always love to tinker with success. So get used to your antenna and then try changes. This one is from Paul Wellner, who does not include his call sign. He owns a Wouxun, I believe is the way it's pronounced, KG-Uv6X, which is a radio I'm not familiar with. He's having trouble programming it. Okay, now I brought this out. This is my red cable. It's got a regular USB on this end. It's got the connector that you want for the Wouxun and Baofeng and lots of different radios. It says here that it supports Win 10. This cable is about $20 or something from PowerWorks. PowerWerx.com, PowerWorks.com. The red cable. Okay, that's the programming cable, and it does not have a prolific chip in it. It has a chip, Silicon Labs makes it, and it works, as opposed to a lot of the prolific cables that are still coming with the Baofeng radios. Now he wants to program, he has wants to use this on marine frequencies. I can't offer any guidance on that. I am not familiar with the rules on marine frequencies. You should be able to program them with that cable and chirp. What indications are seen when the cable does not work? You get a driver error. You'll put it in, you'll install the driver, you will go look at, let's see, device manager. Here's device manager. I'm going to show this on the upper screen. It's a little hard to see because it's just this little window. But down here you go into it's not network. No, it's not network adapters. Oh, let me just plug this in and see what happens. Okay. Now if we look, ports. Okay, this is the port. This is the red cable. I just plugged it in. Okay, now notice that this, it's really hard to see. I'm sorry, I don't know how to make it bigger. This is okay. You will get a little yellow caution sign on the ones that don't work. Okay, now note that this is COM3. So if I were to use this to program the radio, it wants to know what COM port you use. It would be COM3. In this case, your computer will be different. Okay, so hopefully that helps. But yeah, if the cable is not working, the chirp won't download or upload. And sometimes chirp will take a guess at what the COM port is, but if there are several, it could very easily guess wrong. Okay, so I think that answers that one. This one is from Peter Bates. Peter Bates KZ7PDB, I think we had him earlier. If you were to choose between a doublet and a coil-loaded dipole antenna for 40 and 20 meter use, which would you prefer and why? Thanks for the advice. A doublet, you're going to need a wide-range antenna tuner. Or you could go with a loaded 2-band dipole with traps. You can get that from MFJ. They make them. They're not very expensive. And by the way, you may say, why do I have to pay all that for that wire, just that? Well, try and build it yourself, and you'll find out why. You can build these yourselves. There are instructions on the internet for doing this. But a dipole with traps, what he calls loading coils, that's 2-band dipole, they work. And you don't need an antenna tuner other than the one that's already in your machine. Most antenna tuners only will tune up to 3-to-1 SWR, and you should be able to get that easily with a trap dipole. A doublet is a quasi-tuned antenna. And I've never had one. I've never felt the need for it. Some people swear by them. A doublet by rights is 100 feet long and is fed with ladder line. Okay, let's see. This is the last one left over from last week. This is from John Burster, and he doesn't have his call sign yet. He is considering using 10/2 house wiring as window wire to my outdoor antenna switch about 200 feet away. Wire will not be underground or on the ground, but vertical up the house and carbon mast. Does the space between wires matter? Yes. What considerations should I take into account? John, don't do that. House wiring does not make a good transmission line. It's not designed for transmitting RF. It has an unknown impedance. The wires are too close together. If you were to strip that apart and get a bunch of spacers about this wide, you can make them from almost anything, and then string 2 wires that are about inch to inch and a half apart, you would have what's called open wire line. And that would work. Would be a whale of a construction project for you. I recommend that if you want to do ladder line, buy it, the 450 ohm stuff, commercially. You can get both the ones that have the stiff 18 gauge solid wire, or you can get it with stranded wire. Stranded wire is a lot easier to deal with. It doesn't break when it gets flapped around in the wind and so on. So I would recommend that rather than using household wire. If you are in a position where you can't afford very much, you can make your own ladder line, and then you'd have something that you could tune. You need a wide range tuner and a tuner that can tune balanced line. But I saw a guy do it. And he made his own ladder line, and boy, his 80 meter antenna worked like a charm. So, okay, now let's see. From Good Game Ham Radio, thank you very much. How do you donate? If you go, your chat screen probably looks something like this. Okay, we've got 148 people watching. Here's the chat here. This right here is an emoji. Next to it is a $sign. The $sign you can put, I think, anything from $1.99 on up in there. Every little bit is appreciated. Believe me, it helps me to fund the channel and do things like purchase a reference station so that we can all learn from it together. Let's go back to the headshot with the logo. Let's see. MFJ's site has been down for several days already. The message implies their account is suspended. If you go to Cushcraft, it actually redirects you to some other company. The MFJ website is down. Somebody has hijacked their DNS, and I hope they get it fixed soon. I was trying to look some stuff up for this program and ran into that problem there. Continuing with ground bonding, power enters the building at the east end of the garage through the attic from the antenna ground to the service ground or buried around the perimeter of the patio. Don't run the bonding wire through the house. Run it around the house. I know things like driveways and walkways can get in the way, but you need to keep that thing down because that's going to become very active when there's lightning. Okay, so you don't want that running through the house where it can melt and start a fire. Want to use the MFJ 1703B switch to switch one antenna to two radios, but at 3 megahertz the installation is bad and I can still pick up signal in the opposite switch position. Yes, no RF switch has infinite isolation between them. Now, the really good RF switches like the ones I've got here by Alpha Delta do pretty good. They short out the ones that are not being used. I would recommend you use something like that. Again, it's you get what you pay for. I like the Alpha Delta switches because they're built like trucks. They're just hefty. Let's see. I'm on YouTube chat. Pop out window. Oh, well. Okay. Yeah, it does look like MFJ's domain name expired, and somebody, I've got to assume they're extremely well aware of what's going on, and they're getting it fixed. Yeah, you don't want to overlook those things because there have been big companies who've had trouble with their URL. It expires and somebody grabs it in a hurry, and then the company has to pay to get it back. So, well, it depends on the amp. No tune amps don't need to retune. Oops. Found the $sign. Okay. Yes. Aaron, Radio Tech here in Kenya. I have homebrewed an HF radio transmitter and I want to test. Is possible to test without call sign if you transmit into a dummy load. A standard dummy load that has been used for years is an incandescent light bulb. And you can tune it into that just for the brightest light. If it's a 100-watt radio, use a 100-watt incandescent light bulb. If it's 50 watts, use a 50 or 60 watt and just tune for maximum brightness. I realize that's not a perfect solution, but that's what's been used by radio hams for years. Incandescent light bulbs are readily available and cheap, and so you don't have to pay to go buy a dummy load. Let's see. David might feel a bit some. Oh yes, I know. And On grounding, I tend to go with the ARRL and Motorola, and definitely do not violate anything in the National Fire Code. Go with those. Motorola, if you look at my video on grounding, which I think is Ask Dave like number 8. It was really early. I need to do another one. You'll find all kinds of things. Oh, we're getting more super chats. Thank you very much. Thank you to Marcus Grunewald and Don DeGidio, Mark Piran, Alaska Care. Lots of great people. Let's see. Okay. I am from Missouri. Technician KE0BZW, and I live in Alaska now. Don't get on the air much, but when I do, I want to properly announce my call sign. How should I address myself all in Alaska? KE0BZW Portable KL7. Okay, Portable KL7. That'll tell if you're in Alaska. Or you can just go ahead and get an Alaskan call sign. Just send in a FCC form and ask for a systematically issued call sign for where you live, or go for vanity. You can do that too if you want. Let's see. Russia hacked MFJ. Yeah, could be. I don't know why they would. Now, Joda Gamer is asking for some help. He's got some stuff in Spanish, which I don't read. If somebody would translate that for me, that would be very kind. Ann Carlson and James Totten, thank you both very, very much. Pop-out chat doesn't show it. Okay. All right. Now, these are the ones that came this week. We won't get through them all. This first one is from Bob, KB6TOY. Would like to do some video work. What is your setup? Who does your streaming? What does it cost? Do you have a paper on it or a book? No, I've never written a book on streaming. Okay, this streaming comes through YouTube. I have a channel on YouTube, and streaming is free. It does not cost me anything. Now, I use an entirely different setup to stream from what I use for making videos to upload to YouTube. I use a piece of software called OBS. That's Oscar Bravo Sierra, OBS. And right now I'm using version 24.0.3. This is streaming software. And I am using 2 webcams. Okay, one for the overhead, one to look at me. I'm using a microphone from Comica. Okay. They sent this to me for review, and I've been using it. I use a heavy stand with it. This stand right here I picked up at a music shop. It cost me $20 used. A good deal on it. It won't tip like the ones that come with the microphones will tip. And then I use the YouTube feature for live streaming, and it all comes through just fine. So, does it cost? No, it doesn't cost any money at all. There are, if you go to OBS and look that up on YouTube, there will be lots of videos that talk about how to use OBS. Now, you note in mine, I've got the video, which has got a 4:3 aspect ratio, and then I put layered behind it is my usual backdrop, and then layered on top of it is the OG. That's actually all done in OBS. Okay, so everything that I have here is in OBS. And I'm not a power user of it. Other people use it, other hams use it, trying to think of names, who use OBS for streaming. Some hams just do streaming and use different types of things. Now, you can buy hardware that will do streaming, but it's quite expensive. This is just a laptop. I've got another screen up here. It's a 4K monitor. And so I've got all this. I'll take it all off when I'm done live streaming because it gets in the way on the desk. And then it just sits right here and I put it right back. It takes about 10 minutes to set up. So I hope that helps you with that. XSplit is also good streaming software, but not free. Lives in Anchorage and run mobile on 2 meters 70 centimeter when you listen to repeaters. Good. This message is held for review. I'm going to go ahead and show that. You did testing on the MFJ 1788 when horizontal. 1788. Oh, that's the receive antenna. Receive only antenna with a preamp. I never did any testing when it was horizontal. I should do that. Because it is directional if you have it vertical. Okay. Yes, Ham Radio Crash Course. That's him. He uses OBS also. He is a power user. He has it set up so that his chat stream shows up live on the side of the screen. Big clubs, yes, clubs are good things to do. Let's see, G parts, gigaparts. It's telling me that my new FT3DR is not performing at 5 watts and only 3 because I only get 5 watts when the radio is plugged into the wall. That's true. Usually, I know with older radios, the only way to get a full 5 watts out is to plug them into a separate 12-volt DC source. The batteries inside of them are not 12 volts. They're something less, 6 volts. The Chinese radios are all 7.2 volts. Now, the Chinese radios, you don't want to plug those into 12. You'll blow them out. But the Japanese radios, it depends. I know one that only wanted 6 volts, so be very careful. But yes, it is absolutely true that with a lot of handhelds, a lot of the Japanese handhelds, the only way to get max power out is to plug it into a cigarette lighter or something like that. Okay. Was I on Amateur Logic TV last night? No, I was not. Oh, that was directed at Arnie Carlson. Co-pluggers. Appreciate you guy replying to Joda Gamer. Apparently he doesn't know, is not comfortable enough with his English to create questions. Okay. Okay, now I did do testing on a loop antenna in the horizontal position. It was not the 7. I better look it up and make sure I'm talking about the right one. MFJ 1788. Oh, you are absolutely right. I'm thinking of the wrong antenna. Okay, the MFJ antenna with the when it's mounted horizontally, which it is right now on my roof. It's mounted horizontally. Although it's not connected up right at the moment. I'm not using it as a regular antenna. I did do some testing with it horizontal and with it vertical, and it performed well in both cases. Both cases, yes. Okay, very good. Wow, we have set records today. We're up to 151. That is cool. Let's see. This is from Chuck, Whiskey Golf 3 Lima, and he talks about the Mini VNA Pro. This is what I have. I'll put it over here. Main overhead. Okay, this is the Nano VNA. And I have it. It came all assembled and everything. And it comes with a little connector from this thing to the computer, and it has three little male those are male SNA plugs. Yes, the short open load tests for these, and it comes completely without instructions. Be nice if somebody could point me at some good instructions on that. I've heard they're very good. I'd like to play with that. Let's see, where am I here? Headshot. There we go. Okay, these are, you know where I get this? I'll tell you where I get this. I get this at Walmart. I went on to their online store at walmart.com, and I searched for Nano VNA. I did not expect to find one, but I did. And it had to be delivered. They obviously don't keep these in Walmart stores. But it was very, very interesting. So, what's best? I know there are a number of videos on the air about this one. That's why I haven't felt a lot of pressure to really get to understand that, because there's so many videos up there already. I have the MFJ. I have the little one from Germany. And I've got the Rig Expert. And the Rig Expert is the one I really like and use a lot. Okay. Oh, wow. We had another top. Let's see. Kirk. Oops, for a tech. I just saw this for a tech. What's a good affordable UHF VHF mobile? If you can afford the $200, go to Bridgecom Systems and get the Anytone D878UV Plus. D878UV Plus. What a nice radio. That's a very nice radio. If you can't afford that, take a look at the GD77 from Radiodity. It's less than $100, well less than $100. But that one that you get, I've done videos on the UV878UV, or the D878UV. It will do DMR, it will do FM, and it's a 2-band radio for 2 meters and 440, and a very nice radio. It's got built-in GPS, it's got Bluetooth, it's got lots of nice features built into it. I hope that helps. Yes, Josh does this every year, apparently. Makes a dipole antenna using a string of Christmas lights, and they light up. Well, of course, you're using your power from your transmitter to light up the Christmas tree lights. It's a fun gimmick. We used to do this when I was in the Air Force. We had a 160-meter dipole, and the airmen would go out and attach fluorescent light tubes, the big 8-foot-long fluorescent light tubes, to the antenna, so that every time somebody would key down, you'd see the things glow. So they'd be glowing and blinking in Morse code, and that attracted people there. That was kind of fun. Kirk and David, thank you very much. Yeah, we're kind of getting toward the end here. Let me finish out with this one here. No, that was the one. Okay. This is Chuck just talking about and he's asking me about a story in the Washington Post about my church. Yeah. I don't know. I've heard in my 68 years, I've heard every conceivable criticism of the church. Nothing surprises me anymore. So I won't worry about that one. So let me finish simply by is your video programming Retevis RT84? My problem is programming. Okay. I don't know the Retevis RT84. First, see if Chirp will program it. If not, get the programming software downloaded from Retevis, and that will help you to program that. And that's a good start. And I do have videos on programming. I need to do one on Chirp, and that'll be part of the reference station, because we'll use Chirp as our reference handheld programmer. And we'll program some handhelds so that we can show, handhelds programmed this way, how to do it, how to add DMR. I do have loaned ICOM, the 2-meter 440 rig that has D-Star, so we'll be experimenting with that. And we'll be taking a little bit more look at DMR and the different ways to cross-link the radios. It'll look pretty good. So I'm going to say this. Oh, thank you for doing that for Joe the Gamer. Really appreciate that. So I'm going to say to everybody, 73, and Happy New Year. Happy New Decade. Happy New Hamming. Set some goals for the coming decade to do, like operations, or to get a station set up, or to learn, or whatever it may be, and just have a lot of fun with ham radio. Love you guys. Thank you so much. We will see you next week right here on this channel at this time at 1900 UTC on YouTube. We'll see you then. 73.